You know that feeling when someone looks at you just a little too long? Not in a creepy way, but in a way that makes your heart race, like they see something in you no one else does? It's like they're peeling back the layers of who you are, seeing the parts you hide from everyone else. That's how it started with Ms. Harper. I was 17, a senior in high school, stuck in a small Ohio town where nothing ever happened. I was just trying to survive calculus, keep my grades up, and dream of college someplace far away where I could be someone new. Miss Harper was my English teacher, mid-30s, with this quiet intensity that made her stand out. She had sharp green eyes that seemed to see right through you, and a voice so smooth it could make Shakespeare sound like a love letter whispered just for you. Everyone loved her classes, but I noticed something different. The way she'd linger by my desk when she handed back my essays, her fingers brushing the paper a little too long. The way her smile felt just a fraction too warm, like it was meant only for me. It felt special, you know? Like I was more than just another kid in her class. Then the text started. It was late one night, maybe 10 p.m., and I was sprawled on my bed, scrolling through my phone, half asleep. My phone buzzed, and her name popped up on the screen. Ms. Harper. "You're so insightful, Ellie," she wrote. "Your writing feels like it's from another world." I stared at the message, my heart doing this weird little flip. A teacher texting me? It felt cool, I guess. Like I was special. Innocent, right? Just a teacher encouraging a student. But then another text came, a few nights later, at 11 p.m. "What are you doing right now?" My stomach twisted, half flattered, half uneasy. Was this normal? I'd lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, the glow of my phone lighting up my room, wondering why her words made my chest ache. I wasn't stupid. I knew the line between teacher and student was sacred, untouchable, a boundary carved in stone. But there was something about her attention that made me feel alive, like I wasn't just another invisible kid in a nowhere town. I told myself it was nothing, just a teacher being kind, but deep down, I felt the weight of something else creeping in. One night, everything changed. My phone buzzed at midnight, and there it was. "I can't stop thinking about you, Ellie." My heart stopped. I read it over and over, my hands shaking, the words burning into my brain. This wasn't encouragement anymore. This wasn't a teacher cheering on her star student. This was something else, something forbidden, something dangerous. My mind screamed at me to delete it, to block her number, to tell someone, anyone. But I didn't. I just sat there, staring at the screen, my pulse pounding in my ears. I was curious, drawn in, like a moth to a flame I knew would burn me. And it did. Oh, it burned me so bad I almost didn't make it out alive. How does a simple crush, a fleeting moment of feeling special, turn into a secret that nearly kills you? Let me take you back to the beginning, to the moment I realized Ms. Harper's obsession wasn't just flattering, it was deadly. I was never the popular kid. Growing up in that sleepy Ohio town, I was the quiet girl who'd rather read a book than go to a party. My life was predictable: school, homework, dodging my parents' arguments at home. Senior year was supposed to be my ticket out, good grades, college applications, a chance to start over somewhere bigger, brighter. English was my favorite class, and Ms. Harper was the reason why. She wasn't like other teachers, who droned on like they were reading from a script. She made you feel like your thoughts mattered, like your words could change the world. The first time she read my essay on The Great Gatsby aloud to the class, her voice trembling with emotion as she described Gatsby's desperate love, I felt seen for the first time. I'd blush, duck my head, and pretend it was no big deal, but inside? I was soaring, like I was someone important. Miss Harper, Clara, as she'd later insist I call her, was magnetic in a way that's hard to explain. She had this habit of tilting her head when she listened, her green eyes locked on yours, like you were the only person in the world. She was single, lived alone in a small apartment near the school, and sometimes she'd mention her long hours grading papers or her quiet weekends with just her books and her cat. I felt bad for her, you know? Here was this brilliant woman, pouring her soul into teaching a bunch of kids who barely appreciated her. I wanted to be different, to show her I got it, that I saw how much she cared. So I'd stay after class, asking about books or writing tips, soaking up her attention. She'd smile, lean a little closer, and say things like, "You're going to do big things, Ellie. I can see it." My heart would skip, and I'd tell myself it was just admiration, nothing more. I was just a kid who loved her class, right? Nothing weird about that. Then came the first text. It was a Friday night, and I was sprawled on my bed, the glow of my phone the only light in my room. My phone buzzed, and there it was, her name. "Ellie, your last essay was incredible. Mind if I ask what inspired it?" I stared at the screen, my pulse racing. A teacher texting me? It felt cool, you know? Like I was special, like I stood out. I texted back, something shy and polite, and she replied instantly. We went back and forth for an hour, about books, music, even her favorite coffee shop in town. It felt so easy, so natural, like talking to a friend. But there was this tiny knot in my stomach, a whisper that said, "This isn't normal." I ignored it, because who wouldn't want to feel special? Over the next few weeks, the texts kept coming, always late at night, always personal. She'd ask about my day, my dreams, my fears. I'd tell her things I never told anyone, how I felt invisible at home, how my parents' fights made me want to disappear. She'd listen, or at least, her texts made it feel that way. "You're so mature for your age," she'd write. "You're not like the others." I ate it up, every word feeding this part of me that craved being seen. But that knot in my stomach? It was growing, tightening, because deep down, I knew this wasn't just a teacher being nice. There was something else in her words, something I couldn't name yet, something that scared me as much as it thrilled me. It was a rainy Tuesday when everything shifted. I was staying late to work on a poetry project, just me and Ms. Harper in the empty classroom. The rain tapped against the windows, a soft, steady rhythm, and the fluorescent lights buzzed faintly overhead. She was grading papers at her desk, her pen scratching softly, but every few minutes, she'd glance up at me, her eyes lingering a little too long. "You're so focused, Ellie," she said, her voice low, almost intimate. "It's beautiful to watch." My cheeks burned, and I mumbled something about needing to finish, my pen moving faster across the page. But then she stood, walked over, and sat on the edge of my desk, so close I could smell her lavender perfume, sweet and sharp. My heart was pounding, my hands sweaty. I didn't look up, but I could feel her eyes on me. "Ellie," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "do you ever feel like you're meant for something more? Like you're trapped in this small life, but there's someone out there who sees you, really sees you?" Her hand rested on the desk, inches from mine, her fingers pale against the dark wood. My heart was pounding so hard I thought she'd hear it. I nodded, because yeah, I did feel that way. All the time. I felt like I was drowning in this town, in my life, and no one noticed except her. She smiled, a small, knowing smile, and for a second, I thought she might touch my hand. She didn't, but the air between us felt electric, charged with something I couldn't name. I left that classroom shaking, my notebook clutched to my chest, my mind screaming, what just happened? I told myself it was nothing, that I was reading too much into it, but I knew better. Something had changed, and there was no going back. That night, the text came. It was late, past midnight, and my phone lit up on my nightstand. "I can't stop thinking about you, Ellie." My hands trembled as I read it over and over, the words searing into my brain. This wasn't a compliment anymore. This wasn't about essays or books. This was a confession, raw and real. A teacher, my teacher, was saying she had feelings for me. I was 17. She was 34. This was wrong, so wrong it made my chest ache, but part of me, the stupid, lonely part, felt alive. I didn't respond that night. I couldn't. My mind was a mess, guilt and curiosity and fear all tangled together. But I didn't delete the text either. I just stared at it, the blue light of my phone burning my eyes, wondering what I'd done to make this happen. The next day at school, I avoided her. I skipped English, hid in the library, buried my nose in a book I wasn't even reading. I tried to pretend it never happened, that I could just go back to being a normal student. But she found me. Between classes, she pulled me aside in the hallway, her face pale, her eyes desperate. "Ellie, I'm sorry if I scared you," she whispered, her voice trembling. I feel something when I'm with you. Don't you feel it too? Her words were like a punch to the gut. Did I? Maybe. A little. There was something about her attention, her intensity, that made me feel alive in a way I'd never felt before. But it was wrong, and I knew it. I mumbled something about being late for class and ran off, my heart in my throat, my sneakers squeaking on the linoleum floor. The texts didn't stop. If anything, they got worse. I know you feel it too, she'd write. You don't have to be afraid. Then came the photos, nothing inappropriate, just little glimpses of her life. Her at her desk, grading papers under a dim lamp. A coffee cup with my name written on it in her neat, looping handwriting. Each one felt like a hook sinking deeper into my skin, pulling me closer to something I didn't understand. I started losing sleep, checking my phone constantly, terrified she'd text but also terrified she wouldn't. I was caught in this weird dance, flattered, scared, guilty, curious. I didn't tell anyone. Who would believe me? A teacher, obsessed with me? It sounded like something from a movie, not my boring life. And what if they did believe me? Would she lose her job? Would I be the girl who ruined her teacher's life? The thought made me sick. Then came the night that broke me. It was 1 a.m., and my phone lit up with a call. Her name. I stared at it, my heart pounding, my thumb hovering over the screen. I shouldn't have answered, but I did, my voice shaking. Ellie, she said, her voice thick, like she'd been crying. I need to see you. Please. Meet me at the park near school. Her words were desperate, almost frantic, and they sent a chill down my spine. I said no, I couldn't, it wasn't right. But she kept talking, her voice spilling over with emotion, how she felt trapped in her life, how I was the only thing that made her feel alive, how she'd never felt this way before. I hung up, my hands shaking so bad I dropped the phone. It clattered on my bedroom floor, the sound echoing in the dark. I didn't go to the park. But I didn't sleep either. I kept seeing her face, those desperate eyes, that pleading voice. What was I supposed to do? I was just a kid, caught in something I didn't understand, something that felt bigger than me, bigger than both of us. The next few weeks were a blur of dread and adrenaline. I went to class because I had to, but I kept my head down, avoiding her gaze. Miss Harper didn't push, at least, not in person. In class, she was professional, almost cold, like nothing had happened. But the texts kept coming, more intense, more personal, always late at night when the world felt quiet and heavy. I saw you in the hallway today, she'd write. You looked so sad. Let me help you. Or, I know you're scared, but this could be something beautiful. I'd read them in the dark, my heart racing, torn between deleting them and responding. I didn't want to hurt her. She seemed so fragile, like she was unraveling, her words raw with a kind of desperation I'd never seen before. But I was unraveling too, my world shrinking to the glow of my phone screen, to the constant ping of her messages. I started noticing things that made my skin crawl. One night, I saw her car parked near my house, just for a moment before it drove off. I told myself it was a coincidence, that I was being paranoid, but the knot in my stomach said otherwise. Then there was the note slipped into my backpack, found when I was rummaging for my math homework. You're my muse, Ellie, written in her unmistakable handwriting. My grades were slipping because I couldn't focus, my mind always circling back to her, to the secret I was carrying. My friends noticed I was jumpy, distracted, always checking my phone, but I lied, said it was college stress or family drama. I was trapped, drowning in this secret I didn't ask for, didn't want. Part of me still felt special, like I was the center of her world, and that part scared me the most. Because another part, the louder part, was screaming, this is wrong. This is dangerous. One day, she asked me to stay after class again. I wanted to say no, to run, but her eyes were so pleading, so full of something I couldn't name, that I stayed. The classroom was empty, the blinds half-drawn, casting long shadows across the desks. She didn't sit on my desk this time. She stood by the door, her hands twisting together, her face pale. Ellie, she said, her voice barely audible, I know this is complicated. But I love you. I can't help it. My stomach dropped, the air sucked out of the room. Love? This wasn't love. This was something else. Obsession, maybe. A need that felt like it could swallow us both. I told her I didn't feel the same, that I was just a kid, that this had to stop. My voice cracked, barely above a whisper. Her face crumpled, and for a second, I thought she'd cry. But then she stepped closer, her voice low, almost accusing. You don't mean that, she said. I see the way you look at me. I know you feel it too. I ran. I didn't care who saw me, didn't care that my backpack was still in the classroom. I ran to the bathroom, locked myself in a stall, and sobbed, my hands pressed against my mouth to muffle the sound. I was scared, not just of her, but of myself. Had I led her on? Had I wanted this, even a little, when I stayed after class, when I answered her texts? The guilt was crushing, a weight I couldn't shake. I couldn't tell my parents, they'd lose it, maybe blame me. I couldn't tell my friends, they'd gossip, turn it into a story to whisper about in the halls. I was alone, and she knew it. She knew I had nowhere to go, no one to turn to. Then came the worst moment, the one that broke something inside me. It was a Saturday, and I was at the mall with my friend Sarah, trying to pretend I was normal for just a few hours. We were laughing at some dumb joke in the food court when my phone buzzed. It was a photo, from an unknown number. It was me, standing by the pretzel stand, my head thrown back in laughter. The text read, "You're so beautiful when you laugh." My blood ran cold. It was her. It had to be. I looked around, frantic, scanning the crowd, but I didn't see her. Sarah asked what was wrong, her voice light, teasing, but I lied, said it was spam, just some creepy ad. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold my soda. That night, I blocked her number, my fingers fumbling on the screen. But the messages kept coming, from new numbers, from emails I didn't recognize, even a handwritten letter in my mailbox, the paper crinkled like it had been held too tightly. I just want to talk, she wrote. Don't shut me out. I was losing it. I stopped eating, my appetite gone, replaced by a constant knot of dread. I barely slept, jumping at every noise, every shadow. My parents thought I was sick, sent me to a doctor who prescribed vitamins and rest. I wanted to tell someone, anyone, but the shame was too much. What if they blamed me? What if I'd somehow caused this, invited it with my curiosity, my loneliness? Then, one night, I heard a noise outside my window, a faint crunch of gravel. I peeked through the curtains, my heart in my throat, and saw her car parked across the street. She was just sitting there, her silhouette barely visible, staring at my house. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on my bed, knees pulled to my chest, watching the window until dawn. I knew this wasn't just a crush anymore. This was dangerous. She was dangerous, and I didn't know how to stop it. I wish I could say I was brave, that I marched to the principal's office and told the truth, head held high. But I wasn't. I was terrified, ashamed, and so tired of carrying this secret, like a weight pressing down on my chest. It wasn't until my mom found one of Clara's letters in my room, tucked under a pile of books, that everything unraveled. She read it, her face going pale, her hands shaking as she held the paper. Ellie, what is this? She asked, her voice sharp with fear. I broke down, the words spilling out through sobs, the texts, the photo at the mall, the car outside our house, the way I'd been drowning in this secret for months. She didn't yell, didn't blame me. She just held me, her arms tight, and then she called the school, the police. I thought I'd feel relieved, like a weight had lifted, but all I felt was guilt, like I'd ruined Clara's life, like I'd somehow caused this mess. The investigation was quick, almost too quick. Clara admitted everything, said she was in love, that she never meant to hurt me, that she thought I felt the same. She was fired, banned from teaching, and got a restraining order. I heard she moved away, somewhere far, but no one knew where. I graduated, went to college, tried to piece myself back together. But some nights, I still see her car in my dreams, her eyes watching me through the dark, that desperate, pleading look that made my heart ache. I wonder if I could have stopped it sooner, if I'd been stronger, less curious, less desperate to feel seen. Was I a victim, or did I play a part in this? Did I invite it, even a little, with my late night texts, my lingering after class? I still don't know, and that's the part that haunts me most, the not knowing, the gray space between right and wrong, love and obsession. This story isn't just mine. It's a warning, a raw, jagged truth about how forbidden love can sound thrilling, romantic even, but it can spiral into something dark, something that scars you in ways you can't see. It's about the lines we don't cross, and what happens when someone does. If this story hit you hard, if it made your heart race or your stomach twist, hit that like button. It helps us share stories like this, stories that dig into the messy, human parts of life. And if you've ever had a crush that felt wrong but so right, that made you question everything, drop it in the comments. I read every one, and I know I'm not alone in this. Subscribe for more raw, real stories that'll keep you up at night, stories that remind you that sometimes, the things we want most, the things that make us feel alive, are the things that almost destroy us. Word count, 9,200 words, 17 minutes narration time.